Wall Street snaps a 3-day losing streak in a broad relief rally. The Dow closes near 300 points high, while the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq gain over 1%, recovering some losses from the previous sessions. Futures, however, are lower this morning. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade higher as investors await key trade data from China today. The GIFT Nifty is implying a slightly higher start for the Indian market. Brent crude prices rise slightly above $76 a barrel, recovering from 7-month lows due to renewed focus on supply issues and a rebound in equities. CNBC TV 18 Newsbreak is confirmed as the government moves an amendment to provide relief for royalty companies under the LTCG regime. The budget had proposed hiking the tax to 12.5% for unlisted securities. However, with the Finance Bill's amendment, taxpayers can choose 12.5% without indexation or 20% with indexation. And India shines at the Paris Olympics. Vinesh Fogart becomes the first Indian woman wrestler to reach the Olympic final. Neeraj Chopra also breezed past the qualification rounds in the javelin throw and sealed his berth in the final of the event. The Indian men's hockey team lost to Germany and will fight for bronze against Spain. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. So much to talk about, right? Be it global markets, be it the tax changes, and what's happening at the Olympics as well. But first up, as always, let's take a look at the Asian markets. They're largely higher. In fact, Nikkei has recovered 6% from the lows of the day as well. It's up around 4% right now. The Taiwanese index is up around 2.5%. Hang Seng up 1%. So this is something which is seen in the US markets as well, and that is rubbing off on the Asian markets. Across the Asian markets, it's a green color that we can see. If you look at the GIFT Nifty, that one is indicating that the start for our own markets, that could be deep in the green actually. 196 points higher is what the Nifty's implied open is suggesting right now, indicating that we could see some gains today. But whether we hold on to those gains or not is something we'll have to see, because we did fall from the highs yesterday as well. Let's talk about the US markets. Wall Street ended its 3 consecutive days of declines. The S&P and the Nasdaq Composite each advanced 1%, while Dow Jones added nearly 300 points. The online booking company Airbnb plunged 13% after second quarter earnings missed Wall Street estimates. The company also said it's seeing signs of slowing demand from its US customers. Reddit shares ticked down 2% despite second quarter results beating Wall Street estimates on the top and bottom line. CNBC's Pippa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes Tuesday as stocks tried to rally from Monday's market sell-off. The Dow gained 294 points, the S&P added 54 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq rising 167 points. The Biden administration announced today that it will invest $2.2 billion to revamp the national power grid. The Department of Energy said the upgrades will add almost 13 gigawatts of capacity, allowing for increased manufacturing, more data centers, and improved distribution of renewable energy. The update also aims to protect the grid from growing extreme weather conditions. And Disney announced it's raising prices on most of its plans for Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+. Plans will cost $1 or $2 more per month, while the ad-free bundle of Disney+ and Hulu won't see any price increase. The price hikes come as Disney continues to push its customers toward bundles. The price increases are set to take effect in October. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Okay, let's also listen into some important opinions coming in on what the Fed should do next.
I doubt they're going to do anything before, but I think it's probably very probable. It's very probable that they will move in September. There's more data to come between now and the meeting, and who knows, we could see confusing data coming in. You know, I think the preferred mode is 25 basis points. That's really the default mode of the Fed. 50 basis points is not completely off the table, I think. I think there's some chance of that, but that would imply catch-up that I don't believe the committee thinks they're having to do at the moment. So, you know, my best guess at this time, subject to the data coming in that are consistent of what we've seen, is a 25 basis point move in September.
No, I don't think the Fed should have moved in July, and I don't think the Fed should move in September. The risk of a recession has increased, and that is what is also showing up in the market correction last week. The Fed should not act, Joe, because I don't think the Fed should act in response to simply the markets. That is not the mandate. The mandate is economic growth. 4.3% unemployment rate, not very high. Wages are still rising significantly. Inflation is above the Fed's target. So the Fed has two mandates: keep up economic growth and bring down inflation rate. Both of them are in the process of happening. Why do you need to change?
All right, that's the global market action and opinion. But how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with what the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Let me come across to you, Hormaz, first up. Looks like it could be a day of rebound, but we'll see whether that stays or not.
Absolutely, and the bulls, at least until yesterday, were very jittery, as you could see in the price action in the last few minutes of yesterday's trading session. You can see the Nifty banked out almost 400 to even 1500 points on the mid-cap index. That was the kind of pressure we saw from higher levels towards the close of trade. But even the Nifty has managed to hold on to that 24,000 mark to a certain extent. But the Nifty bank, the mid-cap and the small-cap index are testing some very key levels on the downside, because all of them broke below Monday's low and have closed just around 50 to 100 points adrift off those levels. Now, the bulls wanted a positive handover from Wall Street. They've got one. There is also some positive commentary coming in from Asia, with the Bank of Japan Deputy Governor making some statements about not raising interest rates when the markets are unstable, and that has led to a revival in the Asian markets. And you can see that on the GIFT Nifty as well. Around a few minutes ago, the GIFT Nifty was up just over 100 points. Now it's up over 200 points. But that question again remains whether that will sustain or not, because there are plenty of other factors to watch out for today as well. Is the Nifty Bank weekly expiry. That index has been a rank underperformer even when the Nifty moved towards 25,000. We'll continue to see whether these Bangladesh linked companies move the way they moved yesterday, with Marico ending near the lows of the day and the others seeing gains of around 10 to 15%. The apparel manufacturers that I'm talking about. The real estate stocks will be in focus because of the confirmation of the CNBC TV18 news break on the indexation relief that comes in as the amendment to the finance bill. And of course, whether if the market does turn out to be wobbly as it was yesterday, we'll see if the defense and railway PSUs continue to see profit booking. And lastly, if this overarching theme of caution remains until the RBI policy decision tomorrow. So plenty of things to watch out for. Earnings continue, as they say, but the GIFT Nifty is pointing towards a sharp uptick as we speak.
Okay, all right. So that is the market setup today, but a lot of stocks that will be on our radar today. Sudarshan has that list for us. Sudarshan, good morning.
Morning, Sonal. So we'll start with companies, two companies which have reported strong set of earnings. First one is PI Industry. It was a strong set with a margin-led beat. Company maintains 15% revenue growth with sustained improvement in profits. Q1 revenue was up at 8%. Margin has increased 30 bips year on year. Lupin, again, it was a strong Q1. Margin has come at a multi-quarter high of 22.2%, and growth was led by both major markets, US and India. US revenue was up 25%, and India revenue has come in 18% higher. For Gujarat Gas, it was a mixed quarter. Operating numbers have missed estimates while volumes have come in higher. Margin was down 230 bips and EBITDA has fallen 9% sequentially. For Bata, it was a big miss on earnings. EBITDA has fallen 23%. Margin has dropped more than 540 bips and profit was aided by one-time gain of rupees 144 crore. For Tata Power, headline numbers were higher year on year. Revenue has increased 14% and EBITDA has risen 22%. For Cummins India, again, it was a mixed quarter. Domestic business has outperformed export segment. Domestic business has increased 12%, while exports revenue was down 22%. Keep an eye on realty stocks. Government has moved amendment to provide relief under LTCG regime. Taxpayers can now choose 12.5% tax without indexation or 20% tax with indexation, and both these options for property will be for those property which are acquired before July 23, 2024. SBI will be in focus. CS Setty, who is currently managing director, is now appointed chairman for 3 years, and current chairman Dinesh Khara's term expires on August 28. Suzlon Energy to acquire 76% stake in Renom Energy Services for rupees 660 crore in 2 tranches, and other earnings. The companies which have reported a healthy set of earnings are Bosch, Chamal Fertilizer, PV Fintech, Linde India, Gulf Oil Lubricants, and Krishna Diagnostics. And companies with weak earnings were Fortis Health, Gland Pharma, VIP Industries, GM Fin, Indigo Paints, Eiffel Finance, Specialty Restaurants, Rain Industries and EIH.
Okay, that is a long list, but thank you so much for getting us up to speed with that, Sudarshan. Let's talk about the F&O space. A lot of action there. Mangnam is joining in with all the cues. Good morning, Mangnam.
Good morning. Indeed, a lot of action. In fact, this morning, GIFT Nifty is saying that, you could actually see an uptick of nearly 200 points on the way up. But it's like we said yesterday as well, it's not the opening that matters, it's the way we close that matters. Because if yesterday is something to go by, from the highs, we saw a sharp cut. The Nifty was below that 24,000 mark. The Nifty Bank below that 50,000 mark as well. The Nifty Bank was actually the weaker point in yesterday's trading session, with the mid-caps also turning a lot worse. The FIs sold about 3,500 crores in cash markets. The DIs matched that dollar to dollar. The only respite was that they did not sell as much as they sold in the previous trading session, but the selling continues nevertheless. And that continues in index futures as well. 2,000 crore worth selling out there, where the FIs unwound 20,000 long contracts, also added about 12,000 short contracts as well. And as a result of which, over the last few trading sessions, if you look at the net long contracts, they've fallen to sub 1 lakh, now at 78,000 itself. And that implies the net long positioning has come down to 57% from 66% just 4 sessions ago. What are the active Nifty options? On the way up, we'll look at 24,000 call, which has a premium of 171 rupees, telling you that the Nifty, the GIFT Nifty opening is right in the congestion zone. So let's see whether that opening sustains. And if it does, then maybe there could be a case for short covering. And if it doesn't, then all the way, support around the 23,700 mark is what the street is bracing for. What is the broader range for the Nifty? On the way up, it is the 20-day moving average of 24,559. At the lower level, 23,883, the 50-day moving average will be extremely crucial to watch. Nifty Bank options expiry today. 50,000 call has the maximum open interest, so that's something we'll watch out for. At the lower level, it's the 100-day moving average of around 49,500 that the street will be eyeing as a support. In terms of stocks, we pointed out that Manappuram is likely to enter F&O ban. Along with that, we have LIC Housing Finance as well in F&O ban today.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mangalam, and everyone else for joining us today and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. This is our Power Prep segment, but we'll slip into a break now. Up next, the government moves an amendment to provide relief for realty companies under the LTCG regime. We'll get you more on this when we return. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's talk about the big story that we are tracking this morning. We told you yesterday and now it is confirmed. In what comes as a big relief for home buyers, the government has amended the long-term capital gains tax regime for real estate sector. Let's go across to Shireen for all the details and more. Good morning, Shireen.
Good morning. Well, actually, we told you first on the 31st of July when our colleague Timli Jaipuria had reported that the Finance Ministry was actively considering options to try and provide some relief on the long-term capital gains tax for real estate specifically, since there was a lot of backlash from the public. Now, yesterday, the amendment was moved in Parliament, and essentially what it does is that it gives people like the current tax regime the option to either avail of the indexation benefits or avail of the lower rate of tax without the indexation benefits wherever the option is the lower. So let me just very quickly summarize for you. In the case of the transfer of a long-term capital asset, whether it's land or a building or both, by an individual or by an HUF, which was acquired before the 23rd of July 2024. So that's important to point out, that the acquisition of the property should have happened before the 23rd of July 2024. The taxpayer can compute his taxes under the new scheme, which is 12.5% without indexation, and the old scheme that's 20%, but with the indexation benefit, and pay such tax which is lower of the two. So this is what we had reported, and this is the amendment that has now been moved in Parliament, and it should certainly allay and assuage some of the concerns. Now, it's very clear that the retrospective impact of what the Finance Bill had proposed, that has been addressed. But prospectively, you have no option but to move to the new regime. That's very, very clear. So which means that indexation from here on is no longer an available option. 23rd July 2024 is the cutoff if you wish to avail the indexation benefits as far as real estate is concerned. There are some other smaller changes, smaller tweaks that have come in, but this is the material one. And remember, the Finance Minister will speak in Parliament today in reply to the Finance Bill, and we are expecting the bill to be passed today as well.
Okay, all right. That is an important update. Thank you so much, Shireen, for joining us with all those details. So realty sector, that'll continue to be in focus. But with that, we'll do one thing. We'll slip into a break. When we come back, we'll get you all the cues from the commodities market. So stay tuned for that update. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's talk about a lot of positive news. In news from the Paris Olympics, Vinesh Phogat scripts history and wrestles her way to the finals. She's the first Indian woman wrestler to do so in the history of the Olympics. She will play against the United States for the gold medal tomorrow early morning. And India's golden boy, Neeraj Chopra, qualifies for javelin throw final with a top place finish of 89.34 meters, eyeing the gold medal on August 8th. On the other hand, the men's hockey team suffered a setback, losing the match against Germany, but the men in blue will now fight for the bronze medal against Spain. Okay, so with that, let's move on and talk about what's happening globally. In the aftermath of student protests in Bangladesh, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus will head the interim government in Bangladesh, while Sheikh Hasina is likely to extend her stay in India after UK denied political asylum for the ex-PM. Bangladesh's president also held a meeting with the key members of Students Against Discrimination, the group behind the student protests. Separately, speaking to the Rajya Sabha members, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said India is closely monitoring the situation on the borders and will ensure safety of the Indian diaspora in Bangladesh. Okay, all right. So that's what's happening globally. We'll keep getting you more updates on this important international story. But with that, we'll take your leave on Power Breakfast today. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.